Welcome back to JK McLead. I am working on, well, yet another Mini. Yellow cased 110. Now, when you open up these things, you never know what you're going to get, like a box of chocolates. Now, when I opened up this one and pulled out the engine, I noticed what I've got here. It's the wrong engine. Well, I mean, they fit, but, you know, this should have been, or may have come out of, a black cased Mini, because it has electronic ignition and a Zama carb. Now, what it should have is the old style. It should have points ignition and a Lowbro. But, you know, I'll take the free upgrade when I can. And this one here, you know, perfect cylinder, nice and clean, no marks, no scores. The only thing it did have on this one here is, well, the coil wasn't in the greatest shape. Very weak spark. I would get spark when I had it out, but it wouldn't spark under compression. You know, they tried putting this little end on it, and I did it a couple of times. You know, it's kind of the way I found it. But the spark itself is weak. So, 2 screws, put the cardboard from a spark plug in there. It gives you a perfect gap. Swing the magnet around, hold it tight, screw it down, and you're good. So we got spark. It started. You know, yeah, it's, you know, when you start something, it smokes at first just to get all the marky out, the old gas. But this one here kept smoking and kept on smoking, and you can smell the oil being burned. It started burning bar oil. Now, what that usually happens is the oil gets stuck, or the O-ring is missing. And as you can tell, there's oil sitting back there. A lot of it ripped out. Okay, what sits back here is a small rubber O-ring. Goes into that little groove. And after a while, they dry out. You know, they get compressed, and, you know, from the engine heat and stuff like that, they have to be replaced. And sometimes, like on this one here, you know, at the bottom there's a little bit of sludge in there, and it prevents the oil from coming out the tube on the top. It's all gummed up. You know, a little PB blaster in there. Put the collar in, spring, plunger in the center, and the way you test it and give it a good clean at the same time is you work the pump. And as you can see, it's coming out the top of the tube. Now, as the engine goes around, that little hole here puts out a little pressure pulse. So as the engine goes around, pushes the pressure pulse in, the spring brings it back. And so for every revolution of the engine, it does this little pumping motion. And you can see the PB blaster that's coming out the top. And this screw here limits how far the pump goes. So the more you screw it in, the less this travels, the less it's going to pump oil for every revolution. As you screw it out, the longer it's going to travel. And that's how you get your adjustment for your oil. So what I'm going to do is finish cleaning this out, find another O-ring to go in there, fit nice and tight, clean out the balance of what's in here, any kind of gunk that's left. Because if it can't come out, it's just going to sit inside the housing and drip into the engine. Whatever oil goes in here has to get pumped out. You know, it's not, you know, if you're pumping and there's nowhere, and it has nowhere to go, or if it's clogged, then you'll start getting residue like that. It'll gum up and it'll just leak into the engine. Right, get it there. Right there. Right, so I'm going to clean it out, reassemble it, and hopefully that's what we get. I'll put a little, you know, a little bar oil in there, see if it sucks it in. And we're able to test that, see if it comes up a little hole like it should. And we'll leg out apart. clutch and the drum. Little, that's what I usually use. Resist thinning out when the temperatures get high. Take the clutch itself, get a little love on the wire wheel, clean off the mating surfaces. That's it. And you're good to go. When reassembling the hose, I found a small gem. Okay, this is the original hose. Now inside these hoses, if you can find one, if it's still in one piece, generally they're all rotted out, is a small, let's see, small spring. And what they do is they put the spring inside the hose, and on the tight bends, it prevents the hose from kinking. Now, for some applications, if you can get the, a click pen and get the spring out of the click pen, and being able to route it inside here, this way, when you get a tight bend, it'll prevent. After a while, the heat will kick in, and it'll collapse the hose on the inside. The spring will keep it out. So if you can find it in the old hose, if it's not all rotted out, or one from a click pen, it'll make your life a lot easier. You find it runs out of the case, and you put it in the case, somehow it doesn't run because the fuel line is kinked off. Just a little factoid. Maybe a little hard to see. Let me see if I can get a flashlight on there. Let's see. Oh yeah, I think you can just about make it out. It's that little spring in there. Simple but effective solution. And as usual, the most insanity-provoking part is to get that. Let's see if I can get it opposite direction here. To get that little throttle rod in there. Align it, swing it around, and get a pair of needle nose pliers and push it down into that little groove. And it sits there in this position here. Just wind up pushing it down. It's pressure fit and it holds it in place. And there we go. That little nub sticking out right there. Grab a small needle nose pliers, grab, and just push straight down. And that holds it. That's all it holds in place. Okay, the tank just slides on. Little fitting sits in there in the back with an O-ring. It's pretty much self-guiding. One thing you have to worry about is to get, let's see if I get a little pointer here. There we go. Right. Okay, yeah. Right in there. There's the hose that goes into the tank. You just have to align that and kind of push it up. Once it's in, you kind of push it up, make sure it's sitting in there pretty firm, or else it's going to leak. And this is the hose right here. Do this backwards right there. That comes out of the pump and into here. That's all set. Here's the pop on the front cover. Make sure you have this on there properly, and make sure it doesn't sit against here like this, against there, and sits on top, or else as you tighten it, it wind up snapping, and I did that once before. Experience is a teacher. Okay, we'll get this all back together. Okay, very important before I forget, the brake handle has to go on before you put the cover on, because it threads backwards. If you pull it forward, you wind up snapping this little ear. So in that way, it just sits there. If you try to push it any more forward, that little tab will break. You wind up breaking the ear. And these things are hard to find. And make sure it aligns properly. Make sure you don't snap that. Get this in here. There we go. 1, 2, and hopefully you've got everything right. It's complete. Another completed 110. Not sure if I want to sell this gal or add it to my collection. It embodies the best of both worlds. It's a 70s case, which is almost flawless. An 80s engine, say of a 160S, electronic ignition, Zama carb. Repaired the oiler. It's got a period correct bar and chain. And decisions. Thanks for watching.